Hi, I'm Martin McGrath from Financial Edge Group. I'm both a tax agent and accountant as well as financial planner. I got a question the other day about what are you doing for your kids? How are you investing money for them? What are the best things you could do? Should I put some money aside for my kids and how do I help them? The answer is yes. That'd be great. There's great things you can do. What's the best option? Well, it depends. There's a few different things that I suggest you run through and think about, which is one, how much are we investing? Is it $500? Is it $2,000? Is it $5,000? Is it $10,000? Because all of those will have a different answer about what's the best thing to do. Also, is it a one-off or is it a regular thing? I've got $1,000, but I really have to put $20 a week into their account. I really have to put $100 a month in their account, or every Christmas give them a few $100, or grandma or nana might give some money to them as well. Is it a regular thing? Because again, my answer might be a bit different depending upon that. And then also, how long are we doing this for? If it's a 15-year-old child versus a 5-year-old child versus a 5-week-old child, again, my answer is probably a bit different. So it's important to know that to try to best answer this question. It really depends upon what those questions are. But what are our options? What are some tips and tricks we need to avoid around this? So it can be at one end of the spectrum, fairly conservative, a bank account in their name, a term deposit, something like that that's fairly safe and secure. Won't get a great return or rate, but is safe, secure, simple to set up. That works really well at certain sums of money and it's super flexible. We can put in regular amounts, all that kind of stuff. Up to the other end, we could buy some shares for them. Set up an account in their name, go and buy some shares for them. Maybe it's a one-off, go and buy them $1,000 worth of shares. See how that goes for 10, 15 years. They pass it on to them when they're old enough. Another option in that spectrum is what's called an investment bond. And it's investing kind of like a share. It's a bit more sophisticated, there's a bit more going on with that, but it provides a bit more flexibility and security. There's also some tax efficiencies around how investment bonds work if you're investing for the long term. So some guidelines, if we're investing only for 2 or 3 years or less than 5, cash is probably your best option. More than 5 years, something else is your best option. Whether it's shares, whether it's investment bond, it's up to you. What are the key differences? They're both fairly simple to set up. Some of them have more costs than others. What I kind of think would be the key difference is an investment bond can be added to fairly regularly. You can put a certain amount every month into an investment bond. With a share by itself, you typically can't. You've got to buy shares, you've got to pay brokerage, all that kind of stuff. So you might not buy it. You definitely wouldn't buy shares every month unless you're doing a lot of money, but you might once a year buy another $1,000 worth of shares or something like that, but usually it's in bigger chunks. So if we want to do a set and forget, a monthly figure that we can afford, investment bonds are the way to go. We want to have a bit more control and purchase when we're purchasing, maybe shares are the way to go. And that's where it kind of leads me to the last piece of the puzzle, which is the tips and tricks. What does the tax work? What happens to these? How does it all come together? Can the kids invest in their own names? The answer is yes, but the HO doesn't like we having too much money in our kids' names. They don't put a limit on how much money we can have in our kids' investments accounts, but they do put a limit on how much investment income kids can earn. At the moment, the answer to that is $416 a year. So if their kids earn less than $416 in a year, no tax at all. Perfect. If they earn more than $416 in a year and it stays in our kids' name, they can end up paying some pretty high penalty tax, 66%, 45% in tax, which is all the way going to the top. Not the kind of tax region we want to be in. So again, we figure out, well, how much are they going to earn? Is it going to be less than $416 because it's a lower sum? Well, then options are straightforward. If it's going to be more than $416, there are some other options out there. Maybe invested in the mum or dad's name on behalf of the kids, but mum or dad are paying tax on it. Or that's where, again, the investment bond might come into play. The rules around investment bonds is they are taxed internally. They pay their own tax. So what that means is there's no limit on how much money we have in those. So potentially you could have $100,000 in an investment bond for your child. Well done to your child. Good luck to them. That's a great result. That could be earning $5,000 a year. There's no penalty tax on that. It's taxed internally in investment bond tax rate, and that varies depending upon the setup, but it's a hell of a lot less than 66% or 45%. There's a fair bit of flexibility to come with that. So it's important to think about that as yourself, and it really goes back to the start. How much are we doing? Is it one-off? Is it regular? How old are our kids? But they're kind of some key options. Hopefully that helps give you some guidance. Do a bit of Googling, find out a bit more about those options. If you want to have a chat, feel free to reach out. and we can go through that with you. If you've got a particular question about your situation, feel free to pick up the phone, have a chat with us, or jump on our website at financialedgegroup.com.au.